So, hey guys, we're going to start right now. So first of all, thank you so much for coming to our event. So dive into UX and product design. We're extremely excited to have you guys here. So before we start our event, we're going to do a acknowledgement. So we wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been a traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So before we officially jump into our agenda today, first we'd like to do a quick introduction. So please feel free to type in Zoom chat that what is your hometown and then what is your major at UofT. And also please feel free to join our UTBT Slack community, and Jenny will share the link to join in our Zoom chat. And also, please feel free to connect with other attendees where the networking sheet also be shared in a Zoom chat. So go there, you can find other people's LinkedIn, and if you're interested, please remember to reach out. And also, I would like to remind you that this event is being recorded. And on the next slide, we're going to talk about the agenda today. So we have two workshops. The first workshop will be about visual design fundamentals, and it will be presented by UDesign, and we'll have a quiz in the end, and we'll give out some amazing UDesign merch to the winner of the quiz. And for the second workshop, we're extremely excited to have Sarika to talk about prototyping on Figma. Yeah, that's basically, amazing two workshops today. And right before we talk about our panelists, we want to talk about our giveaway. So please remember submit your prototype in the feedback channel of the UTBT Slack to get a chance to receive a one-on-one mentoring session with one of our amazing workshop hosts. So remember to join our Slack channel to click the link in our Zoom chat to join. Yeah, so right now I'm going to introduce our speaker today. So for our first workshop, we're really excited to have Kevin. So Kevin is the UX designer from Ontario's Teachers and also the president of UDesign. And he will talk about visual design fundamentals. So yeah, I'll pass them to you, Kevin.
Okay, let me share my screen. Can you guys see the slides? Yes? Oh, did I request?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, sounds good. Hey everybody. Today I'll be talking about design fundamentals. So this is more about visual design, how to kind of train your eye for design. So here's a quote that I really like. The principles of graphic design are like building blocks. Each one layers on top of the other until you're left with the foundation for creating something incredible. So a little bit about UDesign. We're a student-run creative design club at UofT. We've been around since 2011, and before we were called Design and Design, and now we are UDesign. And what we do is we have a team of designers that provides creative branding solutions for clients within and outside UofT, and we're all developing our graphic design skills as well. And the services that we offer are like website design, logo, posters, like social media, visual design, the whole range of things. A little bit about me, I'm Kevin. I'm the president of UDesign. You can check out my portfolio website here, and feel free to email me if you have any questions or if you just want to talk about design. So really, I don't want to make this workshop another lecture that you'll have to sit through. So I'll try to make this fun and engaging. Also keep in mind that at the end, there's going to be a fun Kahoot game, and the winner will win one of UDesign's merch. So let's get started. So what makes a design look good or bad? This graphic here. Oh, and also feel free to just I have the chat open, so type anything in the chat, comments, questions. Also, if you're brave enough, feel free to unmute and just blurt out anything. So yeah, so we have these logos at the bottom and these logos at the top. So the question I have for everyone in the chat is why does why do the logos at the bottom look so bad compared to the ones on the top? So yeah, just feel free to type in the chat. And we're also gonna look at why, we're gonna try and answer the question, is design subjective? And what makes a design look good or bad? Is it geometry? Oh, I see in the chat, yeah, the top ones are more minimalistic. They're easy on the eye. They're not cluttered. All very correct. Yeah, like your office background. Oh, you like my office background? Yeah, I'm a big fan. Okay, so yeah, we have Leonardo da Vinci drawing out the man and the proportions. If that makes something looks good or bad, or is it the proportions? Someone mentioned minimalistic. So this is the MasterCard logo. It's two circles on top of each other, and not this is totally a coincidence, but UDesign logo is kind of like the MasterCard logo. That's our logo up there in the top corner. Is it personal taste? Does the popularity of the company that it represents, does that make the logo popular as well? Is it the message it conveys, the feeling? For memes, satire, like the slide previously, this is satire. If you haven't seen, there's a person called Emily Zuge on TikTok. She purposely makes really bad logos of companies, and these companies actually took her designs and replaced their profile picture with these designs for a day or two. Yeah. Oh, and fun fact, we have UDesign Instagram, and she actually commented on one of the videos we posted because we tagged her, and it was we also in UDesign did a bad logo contest kind of thing. Okay, so really this workshop, I'm gonna help you turn, you might when you begin graphic design or any kind of design, you might begin to make graphics like these, but really you want to take your design to the next level and make it something like this. You could see both of these posters, they use graphics like icons and stuff, but there's just something about this poster that just feels right. It's not crowded. It's there's a lot of breathability in this design. And I'll show you why, what are the building blocks that can take your design to the next level. So we'll go through the 7 principles. Actually, we'll only go through 5. Texture and form are kind of for 3D design, so it's not that relevant for beginners. So let's jump right in. So lines, if you look at Figma, Adobe XD, all these design tools, there's always going to be a tool specifically for creating lines. They're also called strokes. So you could see they're used to add structure, frame information, emphasis, hierarchy. They can also be used to decorate. So here are some examples. You see the lines in this poster. Can you guys see my cursor, by the way? I hope it's not, I hope it shows so I can point things out.
Yeah, we can see your cursor.
Okay, that's good. I've probably been moving it around a lot too. So let me know if that gets annoying. So yeah, so the lines, they emphasize these words. The lines here, they kind of divide certain parts of the newspaper. And the lines here, they're used in decoration. So really lines are fundamental in any design. You could see the line for like a UI design on a mobile app. It's being used to chunk sections. This one is used for decoration. And even in my own workshop slides, I use lines to like highlight the titles. And this meme here, I'm sure you guys all have seen this. This is bad because there's not really a line, but once you add a line, it becomes a lot clearer. And so, yeah, that's right. Next is color. So color, you have all these like theories about colors, but when it comes to me, when I'm designing, I don't really consider these I don't put a lot of emphasis on like secondary, tertiary. I kind of go through, I'm sure y'all have seen this as like the feeling of the color. Red means active, exciting, bold. Blue is more for like Facebook, like shows trust, control, security. So back to my point, I usually use colors as tints and shades of things. If you see this poster here, it's overall it's blue, but they're different like tints and shades of blue. And the reason why, especially for like UI design, you want to use like more tints and shades is that it's not as like demanding on our eyes to look at tints and shades of one color. For example, here, this is a gradient of purple. You can use bolder colors to kind of like make things pop. For example, this button is in pink, and it really stands out compared to the rest of the colors. And yeah, so this is a no-no. You could see there's so many different colors. This yellow here, you can't even read. It's just so many colors all over the place. So this is what you want to do. Just primary colors, white, black, different shades, have a bit of like blue to make things pop out. Next, we'll go on to shape. Shape, pretty basic. You know, you have your geometric, your organic. You don't really have to memorize these. Shapes, icons, a lot of them are kind of resembling of shapes, like circular icons, square icons, that kind of stuff. Shapes you can use in like imagery, you can use to illustrate, create patterns and all of that. Diving into space, you have positive and negative space. You know, this is positive space. You have the black, which is the primary figure. Negative space is kind of like a black background, and then you have like the white that's causing the main figure. And there's all these different ways you could use space. If I'm going too quick, I'm sure like these slides, I'll provide a link to them so you guys can look over later. Typography, you know, you have your serifs, sans serifs, you have all these different terminologies of typography that when you're designing, you don't really need to know unless you're actually creating your own type. So this is just here to illustrate like how in depth you can go in each of these fundamentals. Sans serif, basically very straightforward edges. Serif, you have like, it's more old-fashioned looking. You have these curves. Then there's these as well. Script is kind of like your cursive. Using type, you can really play around with the layout and sizing of each letter. You can type is actually very important. Like it could determine the whole feel of your design. So in the chat, kind of a little pop quiz. What kind of font, what kind of typography is this? Okay, yeah, this is, I'll just say it. Yeah, you guys are right. Sans serif. How about this one? Script, yeah. And this one. Serif, yeah. So yeah, these are basically the three main ones that you'll have to kind of recognize. Also, Comic Sans is the most hated font ever. You write something in Comic Sans, it looks very unprofessional. So Helvetica, the most loved font, very professional. And this link is just a game, to a font game where you have to kind of like adjust to the spacing between each letter to make it look balanced. You guys can check it out. I'll post the link in the chat soon after this. So those are the fundamentals. Now these are the key principles. So fundamentals, those are the building blocks. Principles is how you like organize these building blocks. So we'll only look at these 6: contrast, hierarchy, alignment, balance, proximity, and repetition. Simplicity and function, those are more abstract. It's harder to illustrate, which is why I didn't include them. Oh, thanks for the link in the chat. So yeah, contrast. This is also super, super important. It's used to generate impact, highlight importance, and create visual interest and dynamics. So these are different ways contrast is used. There could be contrast in the size of things, contrast in color, contrast in shape, layout, type. It's just such a broad principle. One thing that you'll find with contrast is actually you have your like background and your foreground. So you have like a text on top of a background, and the contrast between those two elements. There's a really useful tool called the WCAG contrast checker. You could just Google it. So basically you enter your foreground color and your background color, and it'll give you a ratio, and it will tell you whether that passes their contrast test. This is super useful for accessibility design. People who have like visual limitations, they won't be able to actually read this text because the contrast is so low, the ratio is so low. So for example, in this bottom section here, so what you want to do is like bump up the lightness of the foreground, and once you see that green pass indicator, that means that your design is accessible. And so AA is like your standard. AAA is like for the more extreme cases of visual impairment. So having AA pass is good enough. So that's what all these symbols mean. Next, we have hierarchy. So this is like the arrangement of your elements. You could use this to your advantage in many situations. Typically with type, the bigger the font, the more it will stand out, and it'll typically be the first thing that you'll read as well. So for example, this calculator design, you know, this part up here is really small, so you can't, it's compared to the buttons, it's not a good hierarchy here. So this is what you want to bump up the size so that your main focus is on the actual calculation. So these are different ways hierarchy can be used. Similar to contrast, you could use like hierarchy in scale, hierarchy in color. The more bold the color, the more it will stand out and pop out on the page. Also hierarchy in perspective. So 3D kind of stuff, you know. Yeah, and then you could like change the opacity, and the lower the opacity, the higher the transparency, the more farther back it will seem on the page. Next is alignment. So this is aligning certain elements either like vertically, horizontally, equal distance between things. That's also alignment. You have your good alignment here. Poor alignment, it's just like scattered, like you just threw a bunch of shapes on your page. And you also have like more contemporary, like mixed alignment. It's not like very like structured, but there is some kind of structure to it that makes it look and feel good. For example, you have this not good alignment. The icons, one is like towards the left, one is towards the right. They're not centered. So this looks a lot cleaner. Now, in the chat, what do you guys think about this poster? Is it good alignment? Is it bad alignment? What are your thoughts? All right. This one, actually, it's good. It's a good alignment. Yeah, it's mixed. So, you know, the reason why this is good alignment is because the artist systematically chose like these lines in the red and have their elements aligned to that line. So it's not like, it doesn't have like 10 or 15 different lines that it's aligned to. It's 3 to the vertical and then 3 to the horizontal. So it's actually very structured. And then you have your like type all aligned to these red lines. And we have balance. So balance is like the weight. It's kind of hard to describe in words, but I'll just show you some examples. If you kind of imagine like a seesaw and you have your elements, like if one element is bigger, that kind of tips the balance. So for example, this poster here that I made really quickly, it would be right to say that the balance of this poster is more towards the top of the page, because the top of the page is more crowded, less room to breathe, less like white space. And then compared to this poster here, there's like kind of this equal balance between the top of the page and the bottom. So it feels more structured. Now, you're probably wondering which one is like better. That's really up to the function of your design and kind of the feeling you're trying to convey. You would want a more balanced design for something more like corporate or like secure, but something more with like an unequal balance you would want for something more abstract or contemporary. Okay, and then here you've probably seen a bunch of websites. They show like who they worked with. So all these logos. This is bad because first of all, these logos, they're like different sizes. The balance isn't balance kind of like also correlates, like relates to alignment. So you see like one logo is bigger than the other, while this at the bottom, they're all the same size. If you put each logo on top of the other logo, you get this like equal size between all the elements. Okay, proximity. proximity is, oh, whoops, that was too quick. So it's the grouping of objects in a composition. So it's like, if you imagine like a bunch of dots, two dots together like represent like a whole if they're very close together. But if you move the two dots like really far away from each other, then you see them as like two separate things. So for example, this UI design here, you know, you have your security settings, but why is there like a button all the way at the bottom? Is this related to like devices logged in? That might confuse your users. You know, you might see this as a chunk, this is a chunk, and then this as like some separate thing here. So what you want to do is group them together. So you see this as a chunk and this as a chunk. And you know that those buttons relate to that title there, two-factor authentication. And then finally, we got repetition. So this is like reusing same or similar elements throughout the design. A very like obvious example is you don't want to use like different icons everywhere throughout your design. So for example, if you have like a home icon, like you don't want your next screen to have like a completely different home icon. You want to like reuse elements. This creates like a sense of unity. It's good for branding and consistency. For example, iOS, they use a lot of components. You can like find these on Figma, like the community page. You can find the actual like Apple iOS components. So you see you have your volume rockers that are similar, and also like the layout of this like table, it's also similar. Like they didn't reinvent the wheel in every screen, and that's like beneficial for the users because they don't get confused on like, what is this, what is that. It's because it's all the same. They know that how to use each thing component. Okay, so we have this is the end of my PowerPoint. So there's a Kahoot game. So the first place of this Kahoot game will get one of our UDesign merch designed by one of our designers, Palmer. So this is the Robarts sticker sheet, and you have like Robarts library in all these different. If you guys didn't know already, Robarts is like a turkey or like a peacock. So this is just Robarts in multiple designs. And yeah, this is what it looks like, the actual sticker sheet. So let me get the Kahoot up. Just a sec. Okay, yeah, getting the pin. Okay, pin is in the chat. Oh, whoops, yeah, now pin is in the chat. Seems like we got 18. There's like 23 people, participants, or it's not Halloween themed, by the way. Kahoot is just playing Halloween music. In the meantime, I could show you guys the type game I was talking about. Oh wait, actually you guys can't see it because I'm only sharing the window. Never mind. All right. Last call for people. All right. Let's begin. Oh, by the way, the quicker you answer, the more points you get. So which design is the most correct? Left or right? Wait, do I get to? Oh, okay. Yes, that was an easy one because it was in the PowerPoint slides. So yeah, you see, this is the color problem, a violation with color, and this is a correct color. So next. Good job, Chakra. Yay. Left or right? Yep. So the one on the left is not filled in, and then the one on the right, it is. So this could become a contrast problem, especially on like bigger screens. You won't see the lines, the stroke that clearly. So that's why the one on the right is the correct one. Oh, we got Angela, first place. Oh, double points. Left or right? These are credit card designs. Wow, everyone's doing really well. So yeah, the one on the left is a proximity issue. You have the numbers all bunched up together. It's going to be hard for the user to distinguish the numbers easily, while the one on the right is you have your card number here, your date here. So it's very easy to just dart your eyes to that corner and to the other corner and see the numbers. Wow, a heated battle between Chakra and Angela. Which design is the most correct, left or right? This one might be a bit hard. Yep, the correct one was left. The reasoning, this is a contrast contrast problem with the one on the right, because you have these two buttons that are exactly the same color. It's very easy to mistakenly click the skip button, while the one on the left, the primary action you want users to do is invite their friends, and you know, the like minority of people would want to skip. So that's why you make the skip button less obvious. So this one is kind of a tricky one. Okay, we got Angela and Griffin, first and second. left or right? Let's see if you could spot the difference. Yep, the correct one is the right one. You could see that this icon for the skip song is actually different from this. So this is a repetition violation. Oh, wow, we have a new first place, Irva. Which design is the most correct, left or right? Nice. So yeah, this is a contrast violation on the left. The text is too bright compared when on top of the white like speech bubble. So people with visual impairments will have trouble reading that. And the one on the right is better, but ideally you want like black text on white background or the other way around. Okay, Irva still first place. Susan catching up. Which design is the most correct, left or right? Correct. You see the one on the left, you have the proximity issue. So this Wi-Fi icon is like all the way to the left. You have typography slash hierarchy problem. So this is like a light font instead of a bold. And it kind of like, it's very similar to the actual like speech text. So ideally you want to bold that. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but the actual like rounding of the speech bubble is different from the top compared to the bottom. Irva still first place. Wow. Left or right? Very good. The one on the right has spacing hierarchy issues. This icon here is like very big. It's kind of crowding the text. So ideally you want to make it the same height as the text and have it align properly as well. All right. Oh, it's Chakra back up again. I'm rooting for you, Chakra. So get this next one right. Okay, which design is the most correct, left or right? Nice. So if you, difference is very subtle. The contrast here, you can see the white is a bit dimmer compared to this one. So that could be a contrast issue. That's why the right one is correct. Okay. Quiz which design is the most correct, left or right? All right. Yep, the one on the left is correct. One on the right, you see enable is all caps and then camera is like lowercase. So that's a typography violation. So that's why the one on the left is right. Wow, okay, Chakra, good job. Irva, you still have a chance. I think there's 7 questions left, so let's go. Another left or right question. See if you could spot the difference. Great. Yep, the one on the right. This card, you see the image, the guitar image at the background is like containing in this box, while this one here, it's there's like white bars here, which kind of makes it seem like the whole card is like this shape here. So that's why the right one is correct. Okay. Okay, so here you choose one rule that it violates: hierarchy, color, proximity, or balance. The one that's most obvious to you. All right, great. Balance. Yeah, the way it's cropped, it might have been, yeah, balance is also correct because of the way it's cropped, but color was the most obvious violation, so that one's the correct one. Okay, same, which rule does this design violate? Just choose one. Yep, contrast is the most obvious one. This picture at the background is like, you have all these lights and you could barely read this text here. So that's why contrast is the most prominent issue. Some people said alignment. Alignment, I could, like, to a very small degree, like this could be moved to the left a bit, I guess. Balance, I would say this is pretty balanced. Hierarchy, I think the hierarchy is just fine here. What rule does this violate? I'm sorry if this is too small, but there are 4 different kinds of buttons. Yep, it's repetition. If you have all these 4 different styles of buttons in one design, then that creates like inconsistency. So yeah, it's button. I could see why some people said balance or hierarchy because of the way it's laid out, but the most like outstanding issue here is repetition. Oh, we got a new first place. But don't worry, there's 3 more questions left. So this is a poster. Yes, it's balance. It's very top heavy. This text is kind of just squashed at the very bottom. So that's right. Alignment, I would say this is pretty center aligned. So that's not the issue there. So yeah, it's balance. All right. Second last question. These are parking signs. It's what you want to focus on. Yep, the correct one is hierarchy. Parking signs, their primary goal is to communicate where you can't park. But this one has like 3 different signs all stacked up on each other. There's no way for someone to easily distinguish like what the heck this is saying. So hierarchy is the issue. I could see why people said alignment. The signs are not like perfectly straight, but that's not the biggest issue here. Contrast, I would say like red on white is pretty outstanding. Like the contrast is good. There's black on white, so that's why it's not contrast. Shape isn't even like a design like violation, so I just put that one there to throw people off. Oh wow, we have a new first place. We have shit. Yeah. Okay, so last question. What rule does this design violate? Very good. Obviously, alignment. This text here is not even in the center, so that's the alignment problem. Contrast, not a problem anymore because I put this black square at the back, so you could see, you can read the text now. Also, yeah, let's see who's the winner. In 3rd place, we have Chakra. Sorry, you don't win anything. Irva, 2nd place, you win bragging rights. And we have 1st place, Shay. So yeah, so send me your email in the chat and I'll contact you for a way I can deliver you the sticker sheet. And yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed this workshop. I hope you improved your understanding of design fundamentals. Some closing remarks, really like pay attention to the details when you're designing. Like I'm very OCD. If something is like 1 pixel or 2 pixels off, I would like make sure that it's perfectly aligned to that line. I would, yeah, really like pay attention to these things such as proximity, hierarchy. When you're designing, make sure nothing gets violated, unless your intent was to make something very provocative, and so then you can afford to violate something. But typically UI design, product design, you want things as simple as it can be for the user. So really pay attention to all these fundamentals. And yeah, thanks guys. I'm gonna stop sharing.
So thanks so much, Kevin. Really appreciate workshops. I really like the Kahoot game. It's very fun. I feel like people are also participating very well. So yeah, it's definitely amazing. And yeah, I guess now we can move on to the second workshop. So we're really excited to have Sarika, a professional UX designer, talking about prototyping on Figma. So guys, please go on to the website on the screen to sign for Figma for free, and also go to the other side to get the starter file. Yeah. So yeah, right now I'll just pass to Sarika.
Thanks, Jason. Super cool to be introduced as a professional UX designer. That makes me feel so cool. So thanks for that. I think I'll just share my screen and then we can get into it. All right, is that showing up?
Yep, perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. So my name is Sarika, like Jason said. Thank you so much for the introduction. And thanks so much to everyone for being here tonight on your Tuesday evening. Looking really forward to sharing all about prototyping with Figma with you. So whether you're new to Figma or have a little bit of experience with it, hopefully you'll find this workshop really valuable because prototyping is a really useful exercise to use in the world of design and UX design and user interface design. I'm sure Kevin went over some of that. I missed his workshop, but I'm sure you already got a lot of value out of that. So just before I continue, for the sake of my own knowledge, I think it would be really awesome if you guys could leave a message in the chat about kind of what your familiarity is with Figma currently. And it's okay if today's like the first day you're hearing about it, or if you have a couple of, or if you have some experience with it, regardless. Feel free to message the chat, and then I'll have Jason maybe just give me a consensus in a couple minutes about what people's experience level is so far. So that'll be really, really helpful. Okay, so as you mentioned, my name is Sarika. I graduated from UofT not too long ago, back in April from engineering. And while I was there, I got to do a couple of really cool design internships over at Macy's, Healthcare Human Factors, Audi, just jumping around all over the place. And then I got a little bit more experience working as a freelance designer for 2 different startups. And now that I've graduated, I'm working as a full-time UX designer at Enthusiast Gaming. Gaming is a very cool industry to be in. As a designer, would recommend some really, really cool stuff going on in that industry. So feel free to ask me more about that. All my socials are also linked on this slide. And in terms of Figma, I started using it when I was back in school in like 2018-19, but really was not using it to its full potential until I went and worked with Audi in the summer of 2020. So since then, I've been a Figma power user, and now I'm at the point today where I'm using it 8 hours a day, every single day, which is my life as a UX designer. So that's enough about me. Now on to the interesting part of the presentation, which is Figma. So let me try to give you a little bit of a sense of what Figma is. So it is a design software used by user interface and user experience designers. And in recent months and years, it has really just become the industry's, top design software. All the big tech giants, the Googles, the Apples, all their design teams are using it, as well as, small startups and contractors. And there's a bunch of reasons for that, but one of the main ones is the fact that the way that I like to describe Figma is like the Google Docs of design. So I'm sure everyone here being a student has done some sort of group project on Google Docs. And it's really similar in the sense that everyone is on this one file. You can see what other people are doing. You're editing in real time. It's all on the web. It's all online. So Figma similarly is a collaborative browser-based software, which is super helpful because as an example, just when I started designing, and Figma wasn't really around, what you'd kind of have to do is you design your files locally on a platform like Sketch, and then you kind of have to like send them to anyone else in your design team to review, then they check it out, then they send it back to you, and you have like 5 billion versions floating around. You don't know which one is the most current one. You can't see what other people are working on. So Figma solves all of those problems, which is really awesome. And then there's a couple of really cool things about it. So you have your component libraries, for example. Component libraries are like libraries full of these design elements, which everyone in your team has access to. So for example, you can make a button component, and then you can drag and drop this button component into your screens. And everyone is using the same consistent button style. And then what's really awesome is that you have your master components and then your instances of that master. So the master component, if you're to go in and edit it, say you have this purple button and you want to make it green, you can edit the master, and every instance of that button, wherever it's been used, however many times, will also update to green, which is super efficient and time saving. So that's component libraries. Then you have prototyping, the reason we're here today. So prototyping is where you can really bring your design to life, make it interactive and clickable, and add animations to it. Then you have code output. So you don't need to know any code to actually use Figma, but you can get code out of Figma, which makes it really easy when you're a designer handing off your designs to developers. So that's really awesome. And there's so much more. Figma, I can go on and on. They haven't sponsored me yet, but I'm still waiting on it. There is so much that it's capable of, and I highly recommend checking it out and becoming a user. And hopefully today will encourage you to do that if you haven't already. One of the main things is that because you're all students, you can have the premium version for free. So do take advantage of that. I think if you've already signed up for an account not as a student, you can still message their team or something and they'll upgrade you to premium. So that is kind of a rundown of what Figma is. At this point, Jason, I'm just going to ask you, what is the general consensus of the students? Well, how's their
I think 99% of participants are like absolute beginner. Like only like one or two people have some experience. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. That's perfect. And does anyone have any questions so far at this point in the presentation? If so, drop them in Zoom or just unmute yourself and ask. Don't be shy. Jenny's like, yeah, ask those questions. Oh, okay, wait, I can see the chat too. Cool. No questions. Okay. Sponsor Sarika, yes, make it a hashtag, please. Okay, so we'll keep going for now. And if you do have any questions along the way, of course, ask. Enough talking about Figma, let's actually get on it. Has everyone created an account on figma.com? If you haven't, just go ahead and quickly do that right now. And then I would say open up your own Figma file on the, do a split screen situation where you have Figma open and you have this meeting open so that you can kind of go back and forth. There is also a desktop app. That's what I use in my day-to-day just because it's more convenient and accessible, but today we'll just be working in the web. So feel free to download the desktop app if you have time, or just use the web version. And Jenny has sent the sign up link as well as the starter file, which is all there. Okay, so I'm gonna assume most people have already signed up for Figma. I think UTBT kind of emphasized that you should do that. So I'm hoping most people did. And then let me just pop out and pop into this file. So what we're going to do before we build a prototype today, because most people are new to Figma and this is your first time seeing it, let's go over the file and what you're seeing in your canvas so that you get a sense of all the tools that are available, and then we'll start using those tools. So starting right at the top left hand of the menu, you have your main menu, which is where you have all your settings. You can go back to your dashboard. You can edit elements in your canvas. I don't use these too much because all of these actions are also along here. So no point really going into the menu and then accessing them. But what I do access from here is my plugins. Plugins really help you speed up your workflow. You have things like icons and images and things that you can add really quickly. You can also get the desktop app from here and just access your general settings. So that is your main menu, this one. Then moving down, you have your cursor, which has move and scale. So the way that move works is that you can click into any element and then drag it around the screen to move it around. Another example of that is you can select any screen, for example, and you can try and mess around with the scale. So you can mess around with it like that. Now, you can see that if you want to size up the screen and you're in the move function, it doesn't really do it proportionally. It's not really growing properly. However, if you switch to scale and then try to expand it, the whole thing scales proportionally, which is really convenient. So that is move and scale. Then you have your frames. So frames are kind of like a way to group your content. Sorry, Mia, if I could just ask you to move your cursor a little bit on the file so that, thank you, thanks so much, appreciate it. Okay, so you have your frames. So frames are really just to create these groups of content. So for example, here's a frame where you have your screen, and you can see that within your frame, you have a nested list of all the elements. So in your frame, you have your status bar, you have the title, the form, another form, the button, and your home indicator. It's all contained within this one large frame. Another really cool thing about frames is that if you click into your frame, you will get your options for different frame sizes that you can use. So you can get an iPhone frame and just drag it in. For example, if I want an iPhone X, I can click that and it pops in. So I don't need to look up the ratio and the aspect ratio of an iPhone versus a desktop versus all of that. I can just drag and drop any size frame in from this list. Next up, you have your shapes. So standard, square, circle, you know, images, all of that is under there. You have your pen tool. So this pen tool is really convenient for drawing straight lines. You can draw your curved lines, which is not working. There you go, your curved lines, and you can draw vector shapes and all of that. So a little bit more complex. Let me get rid of that. Then you have your text element. So text, once it's selected, you can click anywhere on your canvas and drop in some text and just start typing away. And what's really cool is that you can go in and edit all of this in the right-hand panel. So you have your font, your weight, your size, your spacing, alignment, all of that for text you can adjust here under the design panel. So that is text. Then you have your hand tool. So your hand tool is really similar to your cursor, your move tool, except you can't actually click anything. So it's nice if you just want to like move around your canvas without accidentally clicking something and moving that. After your hand tool, you have your comments tool, super helpful for sending the file to somebody and getting feedback. So somebody else can come into your file, click on comments and drop a comment anywhere on any screen. And then they can type whatever they want. As an example, you know, I was having a conversation with myself. So I said, hi, hey, and then I can resolve a comment, reply to it, delete it, and deal with comments. So that's great for feedback. So that's our top left menu here. Now moving down into this left panel, we have our layers and we have our assets. So layers consist of your pages, which is an organization system in Figma. So my 2 pages in this file is, the first one is with all my slides, which you can see here. And then the second one is my email app prototype, which we're going to be working on today. So that is layers. And then I also have my assets. So assets are components. If you remember earlier in the presentation, I was talking about, you know, you can make this button and then you have a master component and you can drag in instances. So all those master components will appear here under your assets. And then I can just drag and drop any asset that I want into my file. Next up we have, so that's our left panel menu. Next up we have our center menu. So if you click this little chevron and open up your menu, you have version history, which is kind of like committing code, every version of your file that that you create. Then you can also publish your component library. You can export, duplicate, rename, move, delete your file, just basic settings. Then you have your top right menu. So your top right menu has a couple different actions. You have a voice chat in Figma. This is available on the paid plan. So again, get that free student paid plan, makes it really convenient. Then you have all the users that are currently on your file. So right now I can see that there's 24 of us. And what's cool is that I can click on any user and follow them around the screen. So Christina, I don't know where you are, but I'm going to click on you and I can see what you're seeing. And then if you move around the screen, my screen will follow you. There you go. So as Christina is moving, my cursor is also moving, which is really convenient when somebody wants to present, so everyone can just follow somebody around. Another example, let's check out where Zoya is. Zoya is checking out our prototype. So we can just jump around like that. Now, where was I? Okay, yeah, there we go. So that's how you check out other users. Then you can, of course, share your file. So I can set my permissions for this file here. So I have everyone set to view, but I can change, I can easily change it to edit, and I can add people using a link or by inviting them via email. And then you can also play a prototype here, or, which is what I did. You can play a prototype here or zoom in and out of your canvas. So that is your top right menu. Now we're going to look at this right panel, the last part of the menu. So in your right panel, you have 3 different tabs: design, prototype, and inspect. When you don't have anything selected, this is going to be empty. Once you select a frame, you're going to get a whole bunch of options. So under design, I have this frame selected, this one slide. I can adjust its size, its position, its rotation. I can also select a frame. I can select a frame, and then I have more options. So I have auto layout and constraints, which I won't really get into today. They're a little bit more complicated, but highly recommend checking them out. And then I can adjust a whole bunch of things. So I can select an image and I can add a stroke to it. A stroke is like a border, so I can easily add that. I can add effects like a drop shadow, a layer blur, all of those are there. I can even export my image to a PNG, JPEG, SVG, PDF. Makes it really easy to export your screens if you need to do that. So all of that is there under design. Under prototype, we are going to get more into this, of course, in a minute, because this whole workshop is about prototyping, but you can adjust some basic prototype settings, like the device that you want it to show on. So right now I have it set to presentation. I'm trying to move this out of the way. I feel like an old person. Okay. So right now I have it set to presentation and it is loading. But then I can also change that from presentation to display on an iPhone X. And I can make it a landscape iPhone X. I can set it to space gray. I can adjust the color that I want it to show on. And then it's going to look completely different. Now it's going to appear on an iPhone X, which makes it look super realistic. So yeah, I'm going to go back to presentation for now, but we'll come back to that later. And then the final thing in your right-hand panel is inspect. So I can select any element and see its code properties. I can export the code from to CSS, iOS, or Android. So all of that information is there too. So that was a whole lot of information all about, to just give you a lay of the land of what you're seeing in Figma. Does anyone have any questions at this point, or are things kind of clear and intuitive? How are you guys feeling? Any thoughts, any questions, comments? All right, so if they come up again, feel free to drop them. Yes, plugins. I can't talk about plugins. Plugins are my favorite thing ever. So plugins really speed up your workflow. Let me move this out of the way. So plugins are like things that you can use to, they're like shortcuts for your design files. So as an example, one of my favorite ones to use to populate just like stock images in my file when I'm making a wireframe and I want to populate it with placeholder images. One of my favorite plugins for that is Unsplash. So Unsplash has a lot of stock images available for free. And what I can do, if you can see on my screen, I opened my Unsplash plugin, and I can select a category, or I can search for something specific. And then I get a whole bunch of free images that I can just drop into my screens. However, I don't know why. Oh, okay, there we go. The desktop app works a little bit different from the browser app, but there you go. So it makes it really easy to search things up. I use it most often because I want to just create like little user icons. So I'll just search random people's faces and throw them in, and that makes it really easy rather than going to Google, downloading an image, and then adding it to Figma. It's really nice to use a plugin. And there's tons more, so I can introduce you to more later on. Yeah, mockups, super easy, super quick. Sample files, yes, we will be working on one today, so you'll have that one, and then I can give you more as well. It is a great idea to rename elements. Do not look at my example as a role model of how you should do things. You should 100% always name everything from the moment that you start using it. Don't wait till the end to rename everything. You're going to hate your life. Rename things as you go. Give them short, very, very short and descriptive names so that they're easy to find, because you can see that you end up with like a billion layers that in my case, I'll say slide 16 to by 9, yada, yada. And it's not a good example. No worries. All right. So keep the questions coming. These are really, really good questions. And then let me move into the next part. Somehow got back to the beginning. All right, so we're finally ready to start building a prototype. So before we do that, let's just briefly discuss what a prototype is. A prototype is really a simulation of a user flow. So how is your user going to flow through your application from one screen to another? How are the interactions and animations going to work? That's really what a prototype shows you. It's basically taking your screens, which are like images that indicate how your application or whatever it is that you've designed, it takes it from how it looks to how it feels, because now you get to touch and play with things and move around, so it becomes really realistic. And the best part of a prototype is that it's great if you want to show it to a user and have them kind of walk through your application, and give them a really realistic experience and representation of how your application is going to work, because it's hard to just look at static screens and kind of imagine, okay, this button will move to this, as opposed to, just being able to click that button and move to something else. And then what's also really helpful is that it saves time, saves engineering time and costs later on, and development time and costs, because you do all this validation work early on with the easy, simple Figma prototype. And then you can do all the coding and all of that later once you've iterated and really refined your design. So that is the benefit of a prototype. And now let's make one. So it seems like most of you are already on this file. What I'm gonna have you do is, I don't think you're able to edit this file. So what you want to do is over here in your top center menu, you want to click duplicate and then make a copy of this file to your own local account, so that you can go in and actually edit that one, and then keep that one open side by side with this presentation, so that you can follow along as we build our prototype. So I'll give everyone a minute or two to do that. Yes, exactly. Thanks for writing it out. And then as you start duplicating it, you can start checking out the second page of the file, which has the prototype. And we are designing interactions for a little email application today. Hi, William. Just gonna follow you around. Sorry, that's creepy. I'll stop. Amazing. Okay. is everyone able to duplicate the file? Was that okay? And are you able to edit the file once you've duplicated it? Amazing. Cool, cool. All right. Yeah, so I ask that you don't edit. If you are able to edit things in this file, I ask that you don't, just so that we keep this as like a master file of everything, and just go ahead and edit in your local version of the file so that you can come back and refer to this one if you need to. Okay, so I'm hoping most people have successfully duplicated it. If you haven't, just leave a message in the chat if you're having any trouble. But in the meantime, I'm going to move on. So what we have today is this prototype, like I mentioned, of an email application. And what it consists of is you have a very basic welcome screen that asks you to enter your email and password and sign in. We have a filled state where the user has populated the form fields. We have a list of emails. And then we're going to be doing a little interaction where we swipe to delete an email, and then we get our updated list of emails with that particular email deleted. So your screens are already available, but what we're focusing on today is bringing these screens to life and animating them. Right off the bat, to start off, I wanted to go over a couple of the components that I've built, because I think I've been saying components a lot without really giving you any examples. So components, we have three master components here. We have an email component, which I've used instances of to build this list of emails. And then we have this delete component and then a button component. And so if I'm to take a copy of this master email component, so I can drag out a copy, and you can see that it's an instance because it's this empty diamond as opposed to this filled diamond in your layers panel. The filled diamond is your master, the empty is an instance. Now, what happens is if I make any changes to the master, so say I want to change it from this dark gray color to a black background. So I'm going to do that. Then every instance of that component will also update to black. So you can see that this copy updated, and you can see all the emails in that list updated as well. So if I revert that, and instead, if I just make the instance of the master, so not the master, the copy of the master, if I just make that one black, it doesn't affect the master, and it doesn't affect any of the other ones in the list either. So that's kind of how master versus instances work of components. Okay, so that's enough about components. Now let's start building this prototype. I'm just going to check the chat. Okay, cool. Sounds good. So for today, what we're going to start off with is we want to move, the very first step we want to do is move from this sign in empty state to a sign in filled state. And we want it to appear as if the user entered their email and password and got to this screen. You can't actually type into a prototype in Figma, but you can make it look like you did with an animation and with a prototype. So to access, to start building your prototype, what you're going to do is you're going to select the first screen that you want it to start with. That is our 1.0 sign in empty state. Then in our right panel, we're going to go to the second tab, which is prototype. Now your screens are ready to be animated because you're in the prototype tab. Now what you can see is when we entered the prototype tab, the screen that I have selected got this little node. This node is how I'm going to activate the prototype. So this node will appear on any part of the screen. So I can have it come out of the screen. I can have it come out of one particular field. I can have it come out of the button. Whatever I want to click to trigger the animation, I can connect from that node to wherever I want it to go. So what I want to happen in this case is have the user select the email field and then have it be populated. So I'm going to drag out of the node from that email field to this sign in screen. Now, when I do that, when I drag from here to the sign-in screen, I get a pop-up. And in that pop-up, you can see that I have my trigger. So my trigger is on click. I can also change that to on drag, mouse enter, mouse up. I'm going to leave it as on click. I'm going to navigate to 1.1, which is the filled state. And the animation that I'm going to use is instant. So you have your trigger, your action, and your animation. On click, navigate to 1.1 instantly. So let's see how that's actually going to look. And the way that we do that is we click our first screen and we just, over here on this little flag, you can hit play. So that will load up. And it's going to take its time. Okay. So we have our empty state screen, and then we hit the email field and it gets populated. Super simple, super quick and easy. I'll do it again. So went back to the first screen, hit email, and it gets populated. So was everyone able to make that happen? Nice. First interaction done. Woo. Okay. Awesome, awesome. So let's take a look at what we have for our prototype. We have something that is just a basic screen. We want to make this look a little bit more realistic. So if you remember, we can set the device that we want our prototype to play on. So let's make it, we can go back into our prototype tab, show prototype settings, and let's change it now from presentation to an iPhone X. And I'm a space gray person, so I'm going to set it to space gray. You can choose whatever color you want. And here's a little preview of how it's going to look. And now when I click into my prototype, it shows up on an iPhone X. So now we're getting something that looks a little bit nicer, a little bit more realistic. We have our first interaction done and things are looking good. So that is step one. And our instructions are done. So let's move on to screen 2. Now, what we want to happen in this screen is that when we hit sign in, we want to go from the sign in screen to your dashboard with all of your emails. And the way that we want that to happen is you hit sign in and then your emails slide into view. So this one is a little bit more complicated than an instant animation, but I swear it's super easy as well. And you're going to see why in just a second. So what we're going to do is while prototype is selected, we're going to select our sign in button. And you can see the node appears on the sign in button, and we're going to drag out of sign in to 2.0. Now we're going to keep our trigger as on top. So on top of the sign in button, we're going to navigate to 2.0, which is what we want to happen. And we're going to change this animation from instant to move in. So move in, we'll have it come up from the bottom. You can set your easing curve, a little bit complex, not necessary for today. And if you have Smart Animate selected, I want you to deselect it for now so that we can come back to that in a second. So you should have on tap, navigate to, and then have the animation move in from the bottom. And let's see what happens when we play that. So let's start back from the beginning. We click our email, we populate that, and then we sign in and it moves up. So I don't know if you guys noticed what happened there. I'm going to go back a step. I'm actually going to slow down that animation. So to do that, I'm going to click on the arrow. And this is 1 second. I'm just going to make it 2 seconds. And then I'm going to come back here and see what happens when I click sign in. So I want you to watch really carefully. Do you see that that timestamp, that status bar, and the home indicator at the bottom are coming up as well? These are coming into view. So that's not super realistic because typically if you're an iPhone user, or even an Android user, that status bar with the time and stuff, that stays at the top. It doesn't, slide into view when you're opening, when an animation is happening on screen. Looks kind of weird. So let's change that. And the way that we're going to do that is checkmark this Smart Animate matching layers. What happens with Smart Animate is that anything that's matching, which is exactly what it says, doesn't have the animation, is not affected by the animation. So in this case, we have the timestamp, the status bar here and the status bar here, and we have the home indicator here and the home indicator here. So those layers will not be animated now that we've checked this. And let's just make sure that that's the case. So we're gonna hit sign in. And now you can see it's just the emails coming into view, not the status bar, not the home indicator. So a little bit more of a realistic feeling. So was everyone able to finish that interaction successfully? Nice. You guys are so on top of things, man. If I'm going too slow or too fast or something, let me know. Because this is my first time doing something like this too. So yeah, would really appreciate any feedback. Nice. Okay, so let's move on. Let's get to the next animation. This is moving fast. You guys are too fast. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening on screen. I just want to go back to the prototype. So taking a look at this prototype, we have the screen now, and you can see that, there's a whole list of emails, but we can't really scroll down this list. Clearly there's more down there, but we can't really scroll. How are we going to change that? What we do is we select our emails list, and then if you go to prototype, you can see under overflow scrolling, it's currently set to no scrolling. You want to change that to vertical scrolling. You can also set it to horizontal, but we're not going left and right. We're just trying to go down the screen today. So I'm going to turn on vertical scrolling, and then let's see what happens when we do that. Okay, so I can scroll down my list of emails, but some other stuff on the screen is scrolling too that I don't necessarily want to scroll, like the status bar, the nav bar, and the home indicator. I want those to stay fixed on the screen, and I want just the emails to scroll. That's something I can do. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to go back from prototype into design. And then within design, you can see that you have your status bar. So my status bar under constraints here, I can set it to fix position when scrolling so that when I'm scrolling down a screen, it won't move. So I can fix that, and I'm going to fix it to the top of the screen. I can also select my nav bar, and I can also fix the position of my nav bar so that that doesn't move either. And that's also to the top. And then my home indicator, I want it to stay at the bottom. So I'm going to select that and fix position when scrolling. So now let's click that again. Let's get out of design and into prototype, and let's see if it changed anything. Yeah, perfect. So now the things that we want to stay static are staying static, and the things that we want to scroll, as in the emails, are scrolling around, which is great. So that's fixed versus scroll. And now we're going to get into building that interaction of deleting an email. So we have this email here today, travel alerts, flights to Shanghai. We're not going to Shanghai anytime soon. I think you guys are still in school, so you should not be traveling, stay in school. And we're gonna just delete this email because we don't really need this here today. It's kind of useless. So the way that we're gonna do that is we're going to click, we want to animate this specific email. So make sure you're in prototype. Then select this travel alerts email. So you might need to click a couple times until you see this purple highlight around the travel alerts email. It should highlight in your layers panel like this. Again, name your layers. Don't do what I did because now they all just say email and you have no idea which one is which. So avoid that. So we have our travel alerts email. And once it's selected, you want to, again, you get your node, you want to drag to 2.1, screen 2.1, where you have your delete component. So we're going to go from this state of having the email to this state of pulling up this drag element, or sorry, this delete element, and we're going to do that with a swiping motion, like a swipe right kind of action. So how do we do that? So we're going to adjust some settings here. This time, instead of just tapping it, we want to get that swipe, and we're going to do that with an on drag trigger. So on drag, navigate to 2.1, sounds good. And let's make it a push. So we're going to push from, we're going to push it in from the right. So here's a little preview of how that's going to look below. And then let's again turn off Smart Animate just so that we get a sense of what is happening with and without Smart Animate. So you should have on drag, navigate to 2.1 with a push animation. And let's see how that looks. So we have our travel alerts and we start to push, or if you hold down on travel alerts and drag, you should get something that looks like this. Now, this is a problem because we don't want this entire screen to be dragged in. We just want that delete element to drag in. And that, oh, okay, that's refreshing. And that is why we smart animate matching layers, so that all these emails are not animated. Just the new thing on the screen, which is this delete element, is what gets animated. So let's see, now that we've turned on Smart Animate. And now that we drag, you can see that it's just dragging in that delete element. If you drag less than halfway, it'll just disappear. But if you drag more than halfway, you get it all the way. And that feels really nice and natural. And you can still scroll around. You can go back and do it again, just to make sure that it's working. So that is that interaction. Was everyone cool with that? Able to get that? Nice. Cool. All right. So we are down to our last animation. So what we have so far, let's just check it out from the beginning. We sign in, or sorry, we fill in our details. We sign in. We pull up our emails. We delete our Shanghai email. And now we're stuck on this delete screen, and we want the email to just disappear. We don't want to click anything. We just want it to go away now that we've indicated that we want to delete it. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to select 2.1, and we're going to drag from the node to 2.2, where the travel alerts email is no longer there. So the list of emails has been updated. Now, we don't need a tap or anything. We just want this to kind of happen on its own. You've swiped, indicated that you want to delete the email. We just want that email to disappear now. So we're going to remove tap, and instead we're going to do after delay. So it'll hang out for a couple seconds and then it'll just disappear. By default, it's set to 0.8 seconds. So after 0.8 seconds, it will automatically navigate from 2.1 to 2.2. And rather than a push, let's change this to a smart animate. So smart animate, once again, is very cool because it's Figma being smart, and they recognize what layers changed and what layers stay the same and animate your screen for you. So this really only works if your screens have layers with matching layer names. That's extremely important to use smart animate, because it's just going to recognize any layers that didn't exist in the previous screen and do exist in this one, or vice versa, and then just animate those layers. So in this case, all we want to happen is for it to leave everything else alone and just have this one email disappear. So we have after delay, navigate to 2.2 using the smart animate, and let's see if that works. So we're going to go back. We're going to drag and delete our travel alerts email. And there you go, it disappears. You can have it happen faster if you want it to. Right now it's set to 2 seconds, which I think is a bit excessive. So I'm just going to speed up that interaction, drag and delete, and it moves out of the way. And you have your updated email list. And you actually have your complete prototype. So that concludes the prototype that we were building today. Was everyone able to get from beginning to end? Okay, Sonia, my emails scroll when I enter the delete prototype. Yeah, that's okay. That's cool. They should scroll. It's actually a good thing if they scroll because then it's still natural, you know, even after you've selected that you want to delete it. Any other questions? Was everyone else able to get to the end? Oh, they don't scroll. Okay. Just if you want to double check that. So can you select your 2.0 frame, Sonia, and then see if under prototype, overflow scrolling should be set to vertical scrolling. Just make sure that that's the case. Shannon, okay, we can go over that again. And then I think the name is Charda. There is also a completed version of the prototype below with the prototype animations and interactions already in there. So you can check that one out and then try to rebuild it yourself too, if you just want to go over it at a later time in case you were too late today. Sonia, were you able to get the vertical scrolling working? Let me know. And then Shannon, so for the drag and delete interaction. So again, what you want to do here is you want to select your travel alerts email, specifically this one. And then you want to make an animation where you come out of this node to 2.1. And you want to set the trigger to on drag, navigate to 2.1. And we're making it a push. So make sure that it's pushing in from the right so that you can create that swipe right animation. And then you want to just select smart animate matching layers so that everything else stays static except for that delete element. And let me know if that does the trick. Awesome. It is on vertical. It scrolls when I'm entering the delete portion, but before deleting the email, it doesn't work. Sonia, do you maybe want to unmute yourself if you're comfortable with that, and then you can tell me what's going on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
When we enter, like when we are in the all mail section, and
Yeah.
we can vertically scroll, like you can do that, but I can't do that. But when I enter the delete menu, like when we enter the drag delete section, after that I can scroll it, but before that I can't.
Okay. Were you able to change your overflow scrolling to vertical scrolling?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you maybe just refresh your prototype and then check that screen again to see if it started scrolling afterwards?
Okay, just a second.
Yeah. Sorry, it's kind of hard to tell what I'm seeing. Okay. And now, any luck?
Yeah, it's fine now. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe you just needed a refresh. No worries. Great. Glad it's working. Awesome. So I hope everyone else was able to finish the prototype. If you weren't and you have more questions, definitely leave them in the chat. And again, there's a completed prototype below, so you can compare against that. And like Jenny mentioned, the session is recorded, so all the instructions are there and instructions are to the right of every screen as well. But yeah, so I'll just wrap up. Yeah, that is a wrap, but I had a lot of fun being here today and just working with you guys and building this prototype, and I would love to continue talking with some of you. So UTBT actually came up with this fun idea for a little design challenge. I thought it would be cool, since all of you are on Zoom today and I'm sure are using Zoom on a regular basis, to challenge yourselves to try and design something new for Zoom, a brand new feature. And let me know why you chose that feature. You know, is it something you've been using Zoom for a while and you're like, oh man, I really wish it had XYZ feature, or I think this would make Zoom way better. And then maybe you want to save that idea and have your own startup. So maybe save that one. But whatever you think of, put it out there and try making your own little Figma prototype. So we have some requirements for this. You want to have 3 screens. You want to use a minimum of 5 components. So we used 3 today and we had about 5 screens. You want to build 3 interactions. I think we built like 4 or 5. And then you can design it for desktop, for mobile, however you want. Again, remember, it's super easy to just select a frame and then select the size that you want. You can either have it for phone, for desktop, whatever breakpoint you're most comfortable with. And then as a bonus, it would be really cool if you went out and did some testing on your design and got some user research done too. And then let us know what insights you got from any user testing. This is not necessary because this was a design workshop. So if you don't have time for that, don't worry about it. But just like a little brownie points thing that's hanging out there if you choose to do it. And you have a whole 2 weeks to do this. You guys all built a similar prototype today in about 20 minutes. So it should be no problem at all, but really looking forward to seeing what creative ideas you come up with. And then how to win. Basically, you just want to submit your prototype on the feedback channel for the UTBT Slack if you're on that. You can also share it on your socials on Instagram and LinkedIn, and then tag UTBT and myself, and we'll check that out. And we'll also be sharing your posts. And then we'll select one based on how much community engagement it got, and then the other 2, I think myself and maybe Kevin also, I'll get his help on that too, to select 2 more winners. And I think it'll be really fun to see what you guys come up with. And whether you decide to participate or not, I do recommend continuing to check out Figma, especially if this is a field that you're passionate about. Once I started learning Figma in about 3rd year, I started using it for all my projects in 4th year, and it really, really made a big difference. It made it easier to communicate with my team and group projects. And of course, now I'm using it every day. So you can check out UI kits and design systems from companies online. They all have them available for free. So I would really go and search up, like Apple design system for Figma or iOS design system for Figma and see how they've built their components and elements. It's really helpful. You can join the Figma community, continue to explore plugins, check out some of the things we couldn't go over today, like auto layout and constraints, and making your designs responsive from mobile to desktop. These are all some really great starting points to become a Figma pro in really no time at all. And that is all from me. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today and giving me your time. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, the floor is open to questions again. So oh, cool. Okay, Elise said winners also get fanny packs. Very cool. And pens. Very, very cool. Yes, 100%. Go be product designers, best industry. Ask away, feel free to unmute. Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. It's really, really fun. Man, this club is so cool. Why did you guys start after I graduate? Oh, we're not done yet. Okay, sorry. Yeah, don't go yet.
I had one quick question. So I remember from your introduction that you said that you were a designer for a gaming company, and I was wondering what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, okay, so there was serious imposter syndrome in the beginning. I'm not a gamer. I play like Mario Kart, and I try to keep that on the low at work so that I don't get bullied. But it's a really exciting industry to be in because gaming, as you know, whether you're a gamer or not, you know that it's such a complex world of really interesting design. A lot of the industry trends recently have moved over towards minimal design and flat design, but gaming is just getting more and more complicated by the day. You know, they're adding dimension and layer and AR, VR, and it's the design elements in it are really something that are beyond my understanding, but something that I'm learning about every day. And for that reason, I think it's a super cool industry to be in. I personally am working on designing their social media application for this gaming company. So it's like a social platform for gamers specifically. Can't talk about it too much because it's not out yet, but when it is, I hope to see some of you on there. I'll send out some invites to that. And yeah, you can go ahead and judge my design when that does come out, so which will hopefully be in a couple months. Big moves. Yes, yes. And then I think there's a question for Kevin.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, two questions for Kevin. So like you can go for the chat first, and then I can ask mine. Yeah.
Okay, I can answer how UDesign logo was created. I didn't actually create it. It was the president 2 years ago that did. His name is Egan, but I have the design files. It's very simple. It's I could even just share my screen and show you guys. So
Sorry, I'll just stop sharing. There we go.
oh, thanks. So basically you take, this is Adobe Illustrator. It's what I began designing on. It's crazy how fast these tools evolve. I remember like 2 years ago or 3 years ago when I was just getting into UX UI, I was using Adobe XD because it was like, it just came out. Figma was still in its infancy. And then over the years, Figma just really dominated and took over. And then I was in an awkward position where I was like, like I'm already familiar with XD, like how, like now I have to switch to Figma or else, since it's the industry leader now. So, and they really like done everything right. So big props to Figma, and it's what I would say every designer should know how to do. So yeah, you just make a square, drag the corner, and then rotate this, and then there you go. That's the UDesign logo. And with to get like the different colors, you could either like make them both a same color and then like change the opacity. So the part that overlaps is like a different color. So that's basically how this logo was created.
This is really cool. Yeah, and yeah, I guess another question from like myself will be so you were like interning at Ontario's Teacher, and like Ontario's Teacher is like a asset management firm. So I'm really curious, what is the experience working as a UX designer in an asset management firm? So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely very interesting. When I first applied, like I didn't know what Ontario Teachers was, and apparently their UX department goes way back, like 10, 12 years before any other company were starting to really develop their UX internal team. So that was very interesting to me, because the pension plan deals with a lot of teachers and pensioners. Like they have a database of every teacher's, like where they work, their personal information, like how much pension they're getting each, or like how much pension they're getting or how much they're paying. So all of that has to be managed in a system. And then my job was basically on that team that continuously improves that system. So all the call center employees need to use that system, and even like actuarial people need to use that system to get data. And my job was like to really like interview them and understand like their pain points, how that system can improve. And I also got to do like programming with like CSS and JavaScript, and it was really fun. It's really like a separate department from the whole investing stuff. They have their own kind of systems, so that's how it, like the organization works. Yeah, it was really fun and very good learning experience.
Yeah, really nice to hear those experiences. Like, yeah, never thought about like that, like UX, like in a finance firm. So yeah, that sounds very interesting. So yeah, I just really appreciate like both of you sharing your amazing experience and fantastic workshop. Personally, I really like the Figma workshop. It's like genius, like very detailed. Thank you so much. And also thank you so much for Kevin for the very amazing design fundamentals. Like personally, like I also learned a lot. So just I really appreciate it. So before I let you guys go, we just want to re-elaborate. So for the post-event giveaway, so please remember to submit your prototype in the feedback channel on our UTBT Slack to get a chance to receive a one-on-one mentoring session with Sarika. And please remember to follow these design criteria. And also I want to highlight the deadlines, which will be Tuesday, November 16th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, so before we go to like amazing, like we like to share like amazing news with you guys, how about we take like a group photo together? So I just share, and you guys please feel free to turn on camera, and we're gonna take a group photo.
Dan, you should have told me before, Jason. I'm not ready for the group photo, but I think it should be fine.
You looks amazing. Yeah.
Thank you.
You look so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Feel free to turn on the cams, and we can just take group photo.
Okay. I guess
I guess we can do it. Yeah, Jenny, how about like both of us can do it like from our end, like just to make sure like
I'll
we
just
actually
do
get it.
a really brief countdown. 3, 2, 1, smile, everyone. Yay! Smile. Okay, sounds good. Okay, now back to Jason for final announcement.
Yeah, thanks so much for group photo. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so the amazing announcement is we are hiring. So please go to UofT BizTech on Instagram to see our poster. We are hiring for VP internal associate, and business development associate. So please double check our Instagram. So yeah, we like to see your application. And so for the last, I would like to really appreciate for all of you guys coming here. Again, really appreciate Kevin and Sarika for amazing and fantastic workshop. Really appreciate that. And also thank you so much for all the participants comes to our great event. We really appreciate it. And just to a heads up, we have a upcoming event with Clerical on November 24th at 6 p.m. So if you're interested in entrepreneurship, private equity, please come to this amazing event with Clerical. So more info will be posted on our Instagram, and we'll also have more events in the coming winter. So yeah, I guess that's all we have today, and just really appreciate it for all the speaker and participants. Thank you so much. Bye guys.